Yeah.
Hi, you guys. Welcome to the Miles with Moms podcast, a podcast for moms chasing goals through all seasons of life. I'm Olivia.
I'm Shanna.
I'm Gabby.
We have our guest today.
Yay! I'm Gabby.
We are bringing you training tips, mom and expert interviews, and the kind of best friend banter that makes you feel like you're on a run with us. Whether it's your first 5K, your next marathon, or a stroller tempo, we've got your miles and your sanity. Since we're building a new platform, we really appreciate it if you can rate, subscribe, and share our podcast with another fellow mama runner.
Woohoo!
Oh, and then I was going to say, Shanna, do you have an everyday hero? But I'm the one who has it. That's why I was like, now you're
keep going.
I'm going to just keep talking. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sending this in. This is from Allison. She goes, I have a shout out. This shout out goes to Maggie, my friend and sister-in-law, who is a powerhouse runner and a real life hero. She literally saves lives working night shifts as an ER doctor and still finds the time and energy to train while also being an amazing mom to her two young boys. Maggie has already conquered 6 half marathons and 2 full marathons, including the Berlin Marathon, and she continues to set PRs all while battling TGCT, a disease where tumors form in the body's joints, causing pain, inflammation, and loss of function. She embodies everything this sport and community is about: grit, balance, and heart. Maggie, you inspire so many every time that you lace up, and I'm honored to call you both my sister and my friend. Watch out, Boston. This superhero is coming for you. Thank you, Allison.
That is so cool. We need to have her on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. We really do.
I'd be very interested into hearing more about like what she has going on like internally, but also like her stories in the ER are probably insane.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Probably. I bet running is just such an outlet in so many different aspects, not just in the mom realm, and just a little bit of probably moments of escape and dealing with the everyday things that she faces in the ER.
Yep.
That's wild. Well, you guys, how are you doing? Gabby, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm good. I just want to make sure I speak when I'm supposed to.
Oh my gosh.
You're totally fine. You're doing great.
I'm doing good. It's an honor to be here.
God, we're so excited to have you. How's your week going?
It's going well. It was cold here for a couple days. We had a little glimpse of winter here in Wisconsin. So that was fun. And now we're back to 50 degrees and sunny. So
oh my gosh. That is wild. That's like a roller coaster for
yeah, a 22 degree morning was very cold.
Yeah.
Have you guys already had your like first snowstorms and stuff?
We just had a light dusting, but there were some areas not too far from us that actually did get hit with like a foot of snow. So that can stay away for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. That's like very classic a Midwest fall.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Shanna, how's your week going?
I was just telling her, I was like, I hit that like 12 p.m. slump where I'm like, is it a shower or is it a nap? I don't even know which one to do first. I end up taking the shower, obviously, but yeah, I'm like ready for bed and it's not even 3 o'clock yet.
Oh my goodness. I hear ya. I know. I was just thinking, I was like, I really need to caffeinate. Like, I don't know what it is, but yeah. I mean, early morning wake ups, I think that's what it is, probably. And I mean, I don't even have like a really good excuse. You're at least grown a human. I
mean, 5 a.m. wake up is pretty early.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty tiring.
Yeah. I feel like that early morning, when you are used to it, it doesn't seem as crazy. But when it's like just kind of sporadic and every once in a while, it just...
Which is you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're probably up at that time because your kids are up at that time, but it's different to like go and do like 12 miles and then come back in motherhood and like or mother the kids. And it's different.
It really is. Because otherwise it's like you can lounge around, you can kind of be cozy. You're like, 2.5 hours until I have to make those lunches and stuff. Yeah, but it's like, it also means like 5 breakfasts and
I
don't
know.
even know how many bowls of cereal everybody's gone through. So
yeah. It's so true. Does Grayson like taking home lunch more than school lunch now?
Yes, I think he learned that he has more time to socialize if he brings his lunch. It's so sad. Like, if anybody wants to feel better what they feed their children, I ordered lunch meat I ordered like a whole grocery delivery. The lunch meat wasn't great that they chose, so I had to toss it. Now, I haven't gone back to the store because if you go to the grocery store for one thing with children, you're going to end up with $100 worth of stuff. So it's like, it's not really worth it for me to go. So I have just been sending him to school with Hawaiian rolls and butter because that's all he wants on them. And then just slices of cheese. There's like I packed like these meat sticks. I know he won't eat, but
you gotta make it look like you put an effort in, right?
Yeah, because when I'm like, I tackled like protein, he can like make a little charcuterie type of thing. But I know that he doesn't like them because they're too spicy. So, but I'm like, if anybody peeks, they're like, oh, she put all that stuff in, not just Halloween candy, Oh my gosh. It's in like probably 8 lunches like that. And I mean, but he doesn't, it's not like he's like mad about it. And he likes the Hawaiian roll separate. So
that actually sounds really good.
It does sound really good. Just butter.
I don't know the last time I've had like a cheese sandwich.
I know, I don't either.
It's been a while.
Maybe a grilled cheese.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. It sounds good now though, actually. But those Hawaiian rolls are great. So whatever. Anybody who would see that, they'd be like, oh, she made an effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
Well, I will roll right into Gabby's intro. Okay. I'm going to do my best not to get caught up in my sentences here. So we have amazing Gabby with us today. She is a 32-year-old mom of 4, personal trainer and nutrition coach who's passionate about helping other moms find strength through movement. She and her husband have been married since 19, raising their family on a small homestead where they homeschool, garden, and bake sourdough on their 3-acre property. Running has been Gabby's outlet through every season of life: pregnancy, postpartum, grief, and even her son's medical challenges. She's completed multiple half marathons, 3 marathons, 2 ultras, and a triathlon. After diving deeper into smart training and fueling in recent years, she's fallen in love with the sport all over again. For Gabby, running isn't just about fitness, it's a place to reconnect with God, find community, and remind herself that motherhood and big goals can coexist beautifully. I love that. That's a great intro.
Yeah. I mean, Gabby, you're homeschooling, mom of 4, which already when I hear the word homeschooling and multiple children, I'm like, you must be the most patient mom on the face of this earth, because I'm not kidding you guys. I may be called the worst parent in the world by saying this, but when my kids get out of that car, I just like I can breathe for a second. I still have one in the car with me, and it's just like it's so great. Like, I love this season of life. Like, they love their friends, they love their socialization. I love that for them, and things are great. But I mean, homeschooling alone is such a beast. It is. I know, like, you can structure your own schedule, and it does give you back flexibility and free time, which I do love that so much. But it takes commitment and patience. And you talked about also being a homesteader and a runner, and you're not just like running any distance, you're running ultra marathons, triathlon, and marathons, like 3 time consuming events and distances. And so painting that whole picture for everybody that's listening, like, what does your typical day look like? Like, I want to know, when you wake up, are you just bombarded with children already? Are they still sleeping? Like, what is your routine? When do you fit in training when you are in training? Because you just got out of the Chicago build, so that took some commitment and dedication to train for that goal. And you walked away with a PR, which is like so exciting. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, like, what is your day-to-day like look like for you?
Yeah, so a typical day, I am usually the kind of person that prefers training early morning when possible, because anytime I hit the afternoon or evening, I don't want to run. I don't want to do any of that past that kind of time. Hi, buddy. Yes, you may. Let me close the door. Thank you. And so, yeah, typically I'm waking up between 4:30 and 5 a.m., either running solo or I'm meeting a friend. Husband is home, obviously. So, like, if anyone were to wake up, which would be like our 2.5-year-old, she would just come and snuggle him in bed. But most of my kids actually will sleep till like 7:30, which is perfect. My oldest is almost 9, so they're real self-sufficient. They can go play Legos, they can go play a game if they want to turn on the TV, like whatever. As long as they're like content and happy, like I know that they will be fine. So I will typically train early on in the mornings, and if that doesn't happen, then it's either mid-morning after we get a little bit of school done, or it would be like during an afternoon nap time for my youngest. I will sneak that in. Not my favorite, but hey, mom's got to do what they have to do to train, fit it in their schedule. But yeah, so if I go in the morning, I'll get back, and then usually multiple children are up, if not all of them. And then it's just the demands of the day for, breakfast. I'm hungry. And then we'll kind of roll into like, we'll do Bible time in the morning while we're eating breakfast or just after breakfast. If I do get a little bit of time when I'm home before kids are awake, I will sit with like my red light on my usually an injury area while I'm doing like reading a book or doing my own devotional. But that's not usually every day I get that chance. But yeah, then we will go into just a little bit of school. We usually try to get majority of our things done before lunchtime. And then the rest of the day is really just free game. We have chores. I do have animals. I should state that. I have animals that I need to take care of when I get home from my run as well. That's the other half of my life. So I'll
Yeah.
go let the chickens out, make sure they have water, make sure they have food, go check on the kittens, all those things. Yeah,
Oh my
that's
gosh.
majority of my day. My husband does work from home, so I do have like an extra ear, or the kids know he's home. There's just one day a week that he goes he works out of home. So we kind of have that flexibility here, but I don't use that to be like, I'm going on a run at, 2 o'clock. See you later. I just
Yeah.
pretend he's just not home. Yeah, so that's a
That's
pretty typical day. If we don't have other errands to be running around, we'll be home to do school in the mornings.
That's so nice. Okay, so in your bio, it said that you and your husband have been together since you were 19. Did you always have this, was this a dream of both of yours to have a homestead and live this kind of lifestyle doing the homeschooling, or was it just kind of something that you evolved into after having like your first child, second child kind of thing?
Yeah, I'd say we kind of evolved into it. Looking back, I'm a very different person now, which I would hope we all are. We evolve, we grow, kids change us. I'm definitely not the same pre-children. Um, but yeah, getting married at 19, like that actually wasn't on my radar. Um, I started attending the same church as their family when I was in 7th grade. And apparently, the minute I walked through the doors of the building, he had his eyes on me ever since. Um, I
Cute.
didn't really pay attention to him. He comes from a family of 8. They were all homeschooled. So I very much stereotyped the family. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe we can be friends, whatever." And then it just, yeah, God had different plans for us. So I regret nothing. I absolutely love that we got married so young. It's been fun to journey through adulthood together and just see each other growing along in our own pursuits and passions and goals, aside from like our joint marital ones, like just individual goals. Um, and yeah, so we always knew that we wanted children, that we wanted me to eventually be able to stay home with them. We talked about homeschooling as an option. I was not raised homeschool, so like that was we can put it on the table. We'll see if it works out. We'll see. And yeah, so we have been doing that. This is my 3rd year homeschooling. And I mean, it's just basic stuff. I mean, I don't have a high schooler right now. So, I can do
Yeah.
letters, I can do basic math, I can do spelling, all those things. We are very much a like live life together type family. just learning, teaching them how to make food, how to do their own laundry, taking care of animals, playing games together. Like, that's all teaching them homeschool. That is homeschool. It's school at home, learning how to live life together, teaching them gardening skills. It's all practical stuff where I feel like I'm glad I turned out okay. I feel like my mom did pretty good even though I went to school. I didn't know just only mac and cheese. I could make some other things.
Yeah.
um so yeah, homeschooling was always something that we talked about. And then I think like we bought our first house with an acre of land, and we always felt like, we'd love once we have more kids and money allows, like we see ourselves having some more land and just more space. And so that's how we ended up here on this 3-acre property. Our old house had 1 bathroom and we had 4 children. So, you know,
Oh my gosh.
we had a very small farmhouse and we needed some more space. So, we're very happy here, and it's suited us really well, and we've been able to grow into it, not go from
Mhm.
0 to everything. Like we were able to kind of slowly build into this homestead life with gardening and chickens and outdoor cats and all that stuff.
I love that.
Gabby, when you grew up, you said you didn't do homeschooling, right?
Mhm.
You also like did you grow up on like a lot of acres of land too? Like was the homesteading thing like a whole new like thing you had to learn on your own? And I'm curious, like coming from the perspective of people that are maybe considering homeschooling their kids, like how did you even like figure that out? Because I think like
Mhm.
if I were to ever be in that position, I'd be like, where to even start? Like I think I would just be like Googling everything, like how to start homeschooling your children. So I'm curious like how you were able to figure that out, because I know your husband came from that, but you're
Mhm.
technically kind of the one that's doing the homeschooling. So
Yep.
like yeah, like how did you navigate this whole different lifestyle that probably was opposite of what you grew up with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm pretty much a first, what do they call it? First generation homesteader. Like it was not anything. Sounds really cool. Um, I did not grow up
Did
that
you get a
way. So
scholarship with that?
right, I grew up. My life has been a little different seasons. So I was raised, obviously, growing up, me and my sister, my mom and dad. My dad had passed away actually when I was 8 years old. And so since then, my mom got remarried when I was 12. And so I'm the oldest of 6. So there was me and my sister. And then um, my stepdad had one from his first marriage. And then they had 3 together. My mom was my age when my dad passed away. Like, I can't even imagine that. And I'm so glad that she found someone, even though as a 12-year-old, almost entering like teenage, girlhood, as that was happening, and trying to accept a new father figure in my life was very hard. Uh and we have our moments still. But he's always loved me and my sister as his own,
Mhm.
and has loved my mom, and I just love that. My life has just been uh just a roller coaster ride over the years. And
Mhm.
they kind of ended up morphing into buying a property when I still lived at home that had a couple acres, and then they had chickens and a dog. Um, and then I think actually, I did live there. I had my sister wanted a horse, and so they had a horse. So it was a very small part of my growing up, but it was way later in my teenage years when I was exposed to like gardening and animals and land and all of that kind of stuff. So then I get married at 19. I didn't live at home till I was, 23 or go off to college or anything. So, yeah, so I was not raised at all that way. I went to Christian school, private school, all the way up through 6th grade. Or I'm sorry, 8th grade. And then I went to a public high school. So yeah, not being raised on a homestead, not being homeschooled, and here I am living a completely opposite life. It's crazy to say that out loud. It sounds crazy. But it homeschooling, it sounds intimidating, and I will say it's not for everyone, and it doesn't have to be. I think people think that, you know, that you have to be some special person to be able to do it, and I there are days I don't feel qualified. But again, we do have some great friends and family. Like my mother-in-law is a huge resource. I've met other moms locally, and so that's a really neat thing of getting plugged in. And in our day and age, having like Facebook groups or like little text threads of like other moms that stay home with their kids, like you have the opportunity to really um, capitalize on someone who might be more educated in a certain subject or topic and could help teach that to your kids. So, um, in terms of like history, like that is a topic I am not very passionate about. So my mother-in-law, she's very much into that. And so she's actually done different co-op events where she will invite other moms with their kids and she'll talk about history and make it hands-on for children. And it's super cool. Nothing I would do. I would do something with gardening or
Wow,
something.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
homeschooling really, I think people think it has to look like the school system, and it's not meant to be. Because once you think that, then you put all of this pressure on yourself to make sure that they get in like 6 subjects a day, and that's just not gonna happen. They need the basics, and then they need the life skills, and then things will build on that over the years as they get older when they get into some more, um bigger topics and learning how to write essays and all of those things. Like I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know. We'll just figure it out, I guess, as we go. But it's been a great fit for our family as we've been exploring that.
That's amazing. It really is such a testament to having a strong community and finding the balance of like where maybe like with history, like it's not your strong suit because you just don't feel super connected to wanting to
Hmm.
teach it and things like that. And then, but still providing it for your children in a really cool way
Hmm.
and having your family involved in it still because
Yeah,
having your mother-in-law do it, that must be so nice, so fun.
it's very cool. It's neat.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Gabby, you talked about not envisioning yourself getting married at 19. What I'm curious to hear, like, what did you envision yourself doing at 19? And like when you were like growing up, what did you envision your future would look like, your timeline would look like? And how much have you learned since living this kind of polar opposite life? Like, how has it changed who you are, your perception, your growth, like internally, as an individual and as a mom? I'm curious because I think I resonate so hard with that. Like, I got married at 21, almost 22, and I always like thought I would get married at like 28, 29 after I finished like my running career, like my peak running career. And then in my 30s, I'll be in my career and finally have my first kid. And like, what a joke because
Here you're on baby
I'm like
7.
having my seventh. Yeah, and so it's just like such a polar opposite life. And I can't say how much I'm so grateful that my life worked out the way it did and that I'm with the person that I am and have the kids that I do. And so I'm just curious, like, if there was a moment like in your life where you got married at 19, you obviously had quite a bit of babies too, pretty young, and you're living like you're homesteading, you're homeschooling, and your life is just it's so enriched and so fulfilled already. I'm just curious, like, what went through your 19-year-old brain and, like, what did your 19-year-old self think that you were going to do? And, like, how are you feeling with the life that you do have now?
Yeah, I am grateful that like I said, I did decide to get married. Um, Looking back, like, even if I look at my sisters as they have gotten older and like when they were 19 or my sister-in-laws where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're 19. I got married. Like they look like babies." Like who let me get married at 19? My goodness. No, it honestly, I was just struggling a lot at home and I felt like I really wanted the space to move out. So I did have people who were concerned were you just getting married so that you could get out of the house kind of thing. And it really didn't it was a perk for sure, but I wasn't just going to make a big life decision because I wanted to move out of the house. I could find some other paths to do that. So I likely would have moved in with some friends and just seeing how their paths had panned out, I'm really glad that I just chose a whole different direction because I think I would have just gotten myself into trouble or just things I didn't need to waste my time on, really. I was blessed to not waste time. I didn't really know that I wanted to go to college. I wasn't sure. I knew I was starting to feel very interested and passionate about like health and fitness. And I just wasn't sure where I was going to go with that, but I didn't feel like I wanted to go into debt, going to college for something that I wasn't certain on. So I figured maybe I would just work. So that's what I did is I just worked right out of high school. And then as my husband and I had been talking as we were like, 17 and 18 and really getting to know each other, I was feeling like, you know what, maybe I just need to work and put some money aside if this is really going somewhere. And so that's just what I did is I worked and I helped, front some money for our wedding and um, things like that and for our honeymoon and all of that. So it's wild to think back to that time. We actually didn't have we didn't really have cell phones for texting much. This is really dating, like aging me. I mean, I'm not that old. We're not that old. we
We are not that old.
okay, but like the little flip phone razors, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, we
Yep.
didn't have I didn't have iPhones. I had an iPod. Okay,
Yeah.
um, and we
Yeah.
actually wrote letters back and forth, and so we had at our wedding
Cute.
a whole jar of letters that we wrote back and forth for maybe 3 years of just getting to know each other. We pass them back and forth when we'd see each other at like church or a different event or something. And so it's just a sweet thing and like something that people really don't have these days because we're so into our technology.
Mhm.
But yeah, I definitely didn't see myself here with this land at 19. I didn't picture this. We didn't have our first baby until I was 23. So we had a few years
Okay.
of
Yeah.
just no kids. We got to
Mhm.
enjoy married life together. We wanted to make sure that we just were intentional with like getting to know each other and living together and not adding parenthood on top of that right away because it's all about the kids right now that's all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So making
Mhm.
marriage a priority still is important amidst the children. And so, yeah, we ended up, we have 4 kids, ages 2, 4, 6, and 8. And it all happened so fast. This is my longest. I have not had a little one. So it's crazy.
Mhm. That's amazing.
I love that. Like I just love that you leaned into like this different narrative for your life and that you're able to go and look back and like reflect on what you kind of avoided because you leaned into what felt right for you. I also have to say like it's very admirable that you were able to say, "Hey, I have no idea what I'm going to do in college, so I'm not going to go." Like I think there's a lot of pressure. Especially like I felt that pressure when I was in high school, like the
Hmm.
career days and all the colleges would post up and then you get all the college recruiting letters like apply to my school and there's just a lot of pressure like I remember being the one a few friends who was like I'm actually going to go to cosmetology school and they were like you're going to do what with your life and I just remember feeling like, am I doing it wrong? Am I doing it backwards? But I didn't really truly know what I was passionate about until I became a mom. Like until I grew up. Like I don't even think you necessarily even need to have kids. I think sometimes it takes us a little time to find like what is our passion in life. And I think there's a lot of pressure on kids that are literally kids. I don't care if you're 18, 19, like you're a child still. So there's a lot of pressure on them just to go straight into a 4 year and it is a lot of debt. Like
Hmm.
we're still paying on student loans, and I just think it's really cool that you had that like maturity level to just sit there and be like, I don't really know what I want to do yet, so I'm gonna hold off on it. Like, I don't know. I think that's really cool. Like it speaks a lot about your confidence within yourself because I do think that there is like a lot of pressure to go one way in life. And you obviously went a polar opposite direction than probably a lot of your friends even, and that's really cool. Like I just think it's awesome. Like all of our paths are so unique and
Hmm.
different, and I think that's what makes us so I think that's what makes relationships so fun, friendships so fun, getting to know other people so much fun because we aren't all alike. Like we all have different journeys that brought us to where we are right now, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. I love that. Well, okay, so let's start talking about the running aspect of your life. So where did running start? Because we talked about that you've run everything from 5Ks to ultras. When did running actually come into your life?
Running, hmm. I fell in love with running, distance running, I would say, right out of high school. I didn't make the cut for softball or volleyball. And so though that year when I didn't make tryouts for that and didn't make the cut, I ended up going into cross country and into track, whatever season either of those are in. Fall would have been what, volleyball? I don't even know. So and so I decided to just jump into track. I kind of dabbled with a little bit of everything. In private school, I did a little bit of basketball, did a little bit of volleyball, and then you hit high school and it was like, "Oh, this is the big games. I have to make tryouts now." So
Yeah.
I wasn't good enough, okay? Which is fine. It's totally fine. I ended up being able to join the cross country team. I had a really awesome coach. I really loved him. We just really got along really well and his personality, but then he really saw a lot in me, which was really neat in terms of like leadership and being able to just lead the team. Even if I wasn't like the best runner, it was more of just like the community of girls. Um, and just like you ladies know, like the community of like running is just huge. And so when I was in high school and I got to be around all these girls and we'd go on runs and all this time to chit chat, like you don't get to do that when you play sports. Like someone's at first base and you're in the outfield, you don't talk, like, so you're just getting to go on runs. And so high school, I did a little bit in middle school with some stuff, but high school was really where I found cross country and track. I wasn't, again, the fastest. I was just figuring it out and I enjoyed it. And then right out of high school, I decided I wanted to sign up for my first half marathon. And so I remember before my husband and I were married, we were dating and stuff, and he rode his bike alongside me for one of my longest runs ever. It was like a 10-mile training run. So that was a big deal. That was huge. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I did my first half marathon like a year after high school. And my goal was just to finish and to not stop running. And so that's what I did is I finished it. And it was great. And it was such a great experience. And from there, running really became more of an outlet for me when living at home just because of, my our blended family situation. And um I really had to grow up a lot faster than most kids my age, or I was going through things that most kids weren't in high school, like their mom having babies. My mom had Irish twins when she was 41 and 42. So like I had
Oh my
baby
gosh.
sisters. I had baby sisters at my weddings. I had babies when I was in high school. And so none of my friends did. I was kind of the weirdo, I guess. No one told me I was weird, but I just always knew like my life was different. I was
Mhm.
I had siblings to help my mom take care of, at times, and my family.
Mhm.
We were very much we spent a lot of time together. And so anyway, just had to grow up a lot faster than most kids my age. And so that running became a space as like my mom got remarried and I got older. I just needed to like leave and have an outlet to go process. Sometimes it just
Mhm.
felt like I could just run away from it, but I knew I couldn't. Um, so I think that's where running really just held this space for me that I can see it now in hindsight how much it carried me through some of those seasons of life a long time ago. And then after getting married at 19, yeah, I did that one half marathon and then I got married and I think I just found like a local running club. Like we did like fun runs in the summer. I found a love for strength training and so then I would do that in the basement of our little duplex after we got married and my little 10-pound dumbbells and I'm like, "Woo, I'm getting stronger." Just I had to start somewhere. I was just figuring it out and yeah, just kind of ran to run Didn't know anything about easy runs, tempo runs, threshold, like nothing. I just ran. That's all I did. And then yeah, so just did 5Ks, a couple other local half marathons, and then through my pregnancies, I would teach classes at the YMCA. So I would teach group classes, and then some of my pregnancies I would run through. I ran through most of them, but would be my fourth baby. I ended up running the entire pregnancy, whereas I stopped at some point with my other kids. So, yeah, that running has kind of started then and evolved over time as children and all of that.
I love that. I noticed that you talk about your running, so it's kind of started out as like an outlet to kind of escape like, the home life, the constant changes that you're having to navigate through as a child in a blended family, and your way of like coping with that. I also love that your like spouse before he was your spouse, right? Like he supported you in that. Is what it sounded like, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I did see that you mentioned that it also later on in motherhood became a space for you to cope with like postpartum depression or grief, stress. I'm just curious, like, since the time when you were a younger runner and like now being a mother runner, how has like running changed for you? Like, is it still pretty similar, like a coping mechanism, or has it drastically shifted in like your reason of why you like to do it or why you continue to like put it in your daily life? I'm just curious, like, has the running dynamics shifted quite a bit since becoming a mom?
I would say the core of it is still there, like the why, but like it's evolved. It's definitely changed. My reasons or my why have changed. I don't know if this is like a statistic out there but I feel like I've heard it. Like people that have had gone through like trauma in life that I feel like are the kind of people that put themselves in these endurance type sports. Like we're the kind of people that tend to go after hard things like this. And so like I very much resonate with that. I don't know if I just made that up, but I don't think I did. um and
No.
so I feel like that's something that really rang true for me with the different things that I've experienced through life. Um and that's why I've just like continued to keep showing up for running. Like it wasn't something that I haven't let go of it. Yes, there were seasons, of course, with pregnancy and postpartums where you get back on the horse again, now I get pregnant, now I gotta start over, it's just like so many of those. But you mentioned postpartum depression, and I 100% give so much credit to the fact that I taught classes at the Y and that I had running. um, that forced me to have a different why and reason outside of motherhood to show up for life sometimes. And we all have something different. And for people like us, it's fitness, it's running, it's that community of people. And so that's what drew me. And so if I didn't have that commitment to have to get out the door to go teach a class at the Y and motivate other people to exercise, like I probably would have been a hot mess at home. But no, I'm here wiping butts quick, buckling them in the seat and showing up at the Y as my best self, like that's what I did for 9 years. Um and every time I had another kid, I was like, "Oh, maybe this will be the year that I just take a break." And, I would take my time off, but I would always come back, and it really saved me from feeling lonely, from believing too many lies that I can't get back to whatever fitness level I desire. And it got me around adult humans, and that really gave me a sense of purpose and a community. And my kids just got to see another side of me that exists and is who I am. I I have carried that through, yeah, years, and that's what it's done for me as far as like postpartum and all of that.
I love that. I think it's so important to lean into the community where you can, and especially if you aren't at the point where you're like willing to show up for yourself internally yet, if you can externally do it for others and serve them in some sort of way, and just being able to reclaim some of that identity is so important, and it's so nice that you had that. And I think anybody
Mhm.
who is listening, if they feel, if they're in kind of even in the trenches of like having a 1 year old or something, and they're not in that same like postpartum right now, but maybe finding something like that where it's even just once a week going out and, can you go teach something or be involved in, or go even take the classes. I think it can give you so much of that reclaimed identity. And because a lot of times what we've noticed is people are out there running solo miles, and it can be hard, really hard to find someone that you can run with. And people are nervous to reach out about, like, can I find someone to run the same pace with me? Or, like, I don't think they mean like the same easy pace as I do, but finding something like a group fitness class can be that shift to
Mhm.
find like-minded people. So that's wonderful that you had that.
Yeah, it got
It
me a
may
free
it makes
membership
me think
too, so
about
it was great. Oh, sorry.
Woohoo!
yeah.
Huge pro.
You're good. I was just gonna say, it makes me think like you were showing up and it was getting you out of your postpartum like funk and things that were going on. But I also wonder how much you were probably helping other moms that were showing up that were probably in similar seasons or situations or feeling like all they're known for all day long is mom. And to be able to go to a class where like they can focus on them for
Mhm.
that 30 minutes or 1 hour. I just think it's really cool. It was like kind of you felt like you probably were taking in that moment, but you were also probably giving in that moment to other women to fill their cup too. So it's kind of cool. It's like a full circle moment to think about on the
Mhm.
outwards perspective that I don't know. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So
Well, serving others can fill our cup up, so it was a neat opportunity, and maybe I'll go
Mhm.
back once we moved out to our new home and had more land and a bigger house, and homeschooling was going to need to be more of my focus. Like, it was a good time to just be like, let's just take a break. I miss it, but like, priorities and seasons of life, it changes.
Mhm.
yeah. And like a
Most
testament, like we can't do it all. Like
No,
I
no.
think that's like a big pressure we feel as moms, like, oh, like this is what I did when I had one kid or no kids. And so I have to continue to do that with 3 kids, 4 kids, with homeschooling, with my husband working from home. Like there is a time and a season for everything. And I think like that's a beautiful example too, that like you don't have to continue to carry all this weight and all this load of all these things that you did a previous season or chapter in your life, and that you're recognizing like I only have so much to give and where can I prioritize that? Because I think that's all what motherhood is all about. Like I think we've all been asked here at one point or another, how do we do it? How do we fit it in? How
Mhm.
how are you showing up for training? And it's like I can't express enough how many times I tell people it's literally like a checklist, and here is my top priority things, which is like keep my kids alive is one of those. And then it's like going down the list, it's all the little nitty-gritty things that like can be pushed off if I need it to, like my laundry.
Yeah.
That's behind me. But yeah, I think that's like a beautiful depiction that like moms that are listening, they don't have to carry it all and do it all, and that like dropping a plate doesn't make you anything less because you're pivoting your focus to something more important or something more prioritized in your family.
Mhm.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. It's motherhood is so much about priorities. And at the end of the day, that's like the big question, right? Like, how do you fit your runs in? And like,
Mhm.
like there's a lot of things that just don't get done.
Yes.
Plain and simple. Is it going to be messy or is it going to be dirty? The things that are dirty are always priority. We do dishes. We have to wipe everything down. Laundry, messy. That can be stacked anywhere, right? Like, so it's all about priorities for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so Gabby, in your bio, you said that your running is about also training smarter, and you recently achieved a brand new PR, which is amazing. Can you talk just a little bit, because you're self-coached,
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about what training smarter has actually looked like for you, especially just as a busy mom, having to figure out priorities, that kind of thing?
Yeah. I have been, like Olivia said, self-coached for the most part, alongside like I'll be honest, Shanna, like when I first found you on Instagram, I was like screenshotting your workouts because I was like, oh, those are good. But then I tailor it to like my paces because I didn't have a coach. And I had some running friends who had coaches and they're like, Gabby, you should get a coach. And like, it just hasn't been, my husband supports my running, like he is the best. But you know, everyone's marriage and their seasons of life are different for different things, their financial goals. And so I've just had to accept like with what I do with what I can. And I have educated myself with the podcast that your coach, both of you use, Coach B, his podcast. I listened the heck out of that, like early on when he first was sharing stuff on there. So I learned about heart rate training, like backing up. I never learned or knew anything other than like just lace up your shoes and go run, which honestly, there was probably so much freedom in that because I didn't get so caught up in like my head about my heart rate or my pace or I don't know, like honestly, I don't even know what I thought about on my runs. I just listened to music and my thoughts. So coming, coming off of Chicago with a big PR, like, okay, to put it in perspective, this is a PR that I haven't been able to fully go after since having my first baby in 2017. This is 8 years later. Okay. Um, I the opportunities for some marathons didn't line up for me when I wanted them to due to COVID in 2020. And then I was supposed to run a marathon that year. And then I was going to run that same marathon again 2 years after that. And it got canceled because they couldn't pull permits for the course because of road construction. So they were trying to shift it. So then um, that got canceled, and I ended up actually being 16 weeks pregnant for that marathon. And so it got shifted to running on a bike path out and back 4 times, the same bike path. Don't ever do
Oh
it.
my
Don't.
gosh. Are you
It was
serious? Oh
literal.
my
It probably was a blessing in disguise because I was pregnant and I had porta potties like anytime I needed it.
Yeah.
But I was
Yeah.
by that 4th time, I was like, "I'm doing this. I'm going out and back again." Like, it was, very boring, but I trained, and I was like, "I can't give up. I can't give up." It literally got canceled 2 weeks before, and I was like, "I gotta find something." And so a different race company took it over, and they were like, "This is what we can do last minute. This is what we can put on." And I'm like, "Great. I will show up. I'm ready to do it." But my first marathon, my goal was just to finish. And then as I kind of saw how I was training and how well it was going, I knew like I could get a Boston qualifying time. And so in 2017, after my first baby, it was my goal. I had a really good friend of mine. She passed away, unfortunately, but she was a really great training partner of mine who inspired me to run my first marathon and do my first triathlon after having my first baby. She also inspired me to become a personal trainer, which has just she made me part of who I am today. And it's sad that she can't be here anymore. Um, sorry, don't mean to get emotional. And so she pushed me in those areas, and since that marathon, it really showed me what I could do after having children. That any like just felt like the sky is wide open, like the opportunities are endless.
Yeah.
Since then I have grown in running, but I did get that Boston qualifying time. I did apply. It would have been for 2019. Well, ended up getting pregnant and I would have been 7 months pregnant for that race. So I pulled the heck out because I'm like,
Oh,
there's
wow.
no way. There's no way I'm training and running Boston for the first time at 7 months pregnant. No, thank you. And
Yeah.
they didn't have the postpartum and pregnancy deferrals like they do now. And so I think that is such an awesome thing because I'm banking on that. I signed up for Chicago again because I had a qualifying time, but I don't know. I might have to use the deferral if we choose to have, one more kid here. But that's besides the point. Yeah, it's been from 2017 to here in 2025, being able to run a 7-minute PR for a marathon has been just wild after having 4 children and going through different hurdles in life. Honestly, seeing that finish line was just like, it's over. That's it. Like, I'm done. I just couldn't. All the feelings, they just hit you right at the finish line. And in terms of
Yeah.
training smarter, like I just learned that honestly what it boiled down to was I thought every run had to feel like semi-hard. Like I have to push myself, you know. I didn't
Yeah.
understand the concept of easy runs and what did easy running mean. And that looks different for everybody. And so once I learned about what my general heart rate should look like for an easy run, that was putting me at 9:30 to 10-minute paces. And I would
Yeah.
never let myself ever get to that point, ever. If I was anywhere below an 8:30 pace, it was like, why am I even running? So that was game changer in terms of I can still feel good on my runs because I have these easy days to bank on where, I'm building that aerobic base and I'm gaining the fitness that way. And then when it's time to get to work and do the hard run, I have the energy to do that. I've built the mileage over the years. So I've gone from 25-mile weeks to 30-mile weeks to I've peaked to, I think 60 to 65. I don't know where I peaked out for when I was doing my 50K. And like that, I never envisioned in a million years. And then seeing some ladies who are at like 70 to 75-mile weeks, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's amazing. But we all do with what we can. And like I said, I know where I generally lie for my paces. So I do pay for the VDOT app. I don't know if the VO2 Max app or whatever. So I pay for the year subscription for that. It's $99 for the year. I can do that. And so it at least gives me some generally tailored workouts with paces to hit where I'm not constantly having to come up with my workouts every week like I was doing. Or I'd have some friends that would kind of give me a few ideas. Um, and so it's been nice to have that for the last 2 years, and that has really given me some accountabilities, a little bit of structure, but then I've learned to be more in tune with my body in terms of I know when I'm working hard, I know when I can work harder, and I know what I need to be running for it to be easy. And that has carried me through to the Chicago Marathon. It felt perfect. It felt so smooth, and I never felt like I ever once hit this moment of I don't think I can do this. I had moments of like I'm tired, like like normal things, but I didn't hit a wall of. And I also know that comes with fueling. That's also the other part of training smarter. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
No.
um, but the fueling aspect too is part of the training smarter. And I think you ladies, along with like Francesca and Elizabeth and all of many moms in the running world on Instagram and stuff have done such a beautiful job of, I don't know if I froze here or not, have done a beautiful job
You did.
of showing what a fueled mom or runner looks like, and that we shouldn't be afraid to be eating and fueling pre-running, post-running, all of that. And that's been really helpful for me because I've struggled with just self-confidence, body image stuff. I know a lot of women, we do. And especially after having babies and all of that. You're supposed to bounce back and people just don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
um, and so I used to pride myself. I'll be honest. I used to pride myself that I didn't eat before a run or I didn't need much. I think my first marathon, I probably took 2 or 3 gels and they had maybe 20 carbs in each. Whereas like Chicago, I had 6 gels that had the Crank Sports. I had a gel prior to the race. So I had 7 gels on top of a bagel and a carb drink. Like that is what carried me and what sustained me and what got me to that finish line and what made me feel like $1,000,000 afterwards, where I was like, this is it. And I'm hungry for more. I want to see what's next. So, yeah, just training smarter in both of the aspects of easy running and then that fueling is just game changer.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But I think it's so incredible that you went out and had such an amazing day and a such a great experience in a marathon. Granted, like it's the Chicago Marathon and stuff like that, but that's kind of what makes it even better, like because you were able to fully absorb everything.
Hmm.
And doing that self-coached is so impressive. Like getting yourself into this PR Like it really is such a full circle moment for you, and it should be such a testament to your training, and because your training wasn't linear by any means. I know that you dealt with a couple of near injury and that's really tough, and so it really was such a victory for you to get to that start line, but then not only to the start line but to the finish line healthy, feeling good, and like hungry for more. It's just so exciting.
Yeah.
And I love that your progress like wasn't overnight. It was like your last PR had been quite a bit of time since now, which is cool because I think a lot of times like on social media we can see people like 6-month build and they're PRing 5 minutes and then 6-month build and they're PRing 5 minutes. I mean, at some point it does plateau for a second, and that's very, very normal. Like I can probably count more times I haven't PR'd in my career of running, like way more times than the amount of times that I've actually PR'd in running. And so I think it's really cool to show that like running was more than just a finish time clock to you. Like it really satisfied and fulfilled your life in multiple ways and gave back to you in multiple ways than just like instant gratification of that like finished time. But I love that you got to experience it because you didn't have the most ideal build. You did have some hiccups, which is a lot more common than we see on social media. I think some people are a little afraid to talk about flares and injury out of fear of being like bombarded with like judgment and stuff. But for the most part, it is pretty common for runners to go through their highs and lows in a build, whether it's mental or physical. You will navigate something, especially as a mom runner, because you have now children and other people's lives that you're trying to take a hold and take care of and keep them going while you're taking care of yourself. I am curious, like when you were going through your build and you had those setbacks, like what was going through your head? Was there ever a point where you're like, am I going to be able to go to the start line healthy? And like what kept you going? Like what kept you mentally still trying to show up the best way that you could in those circumstances? Because I mean, you did enter the start line and you were healthy and ready to go, thankfully. But leading up to that, it was kind of, there's some uncertain moments where you're like, am I going to have to pull out or are we just going to run this thing hurt, you know?
Yeah, that was definitely a fear of mine. So I was battling an Achilles tendonitis situation. When us runners get injuries, we just like freak out and we think all the things. I will say my husband was a huge proponent in me not quitting. He's like, I can't let you just give up. You want to meet all these ladies. You want the chance at a marathon. You like, you want this. So don't quit just yet. Like, unless you like are hobbling the days before the race, like just keep showing up. And so there was a point in my training where I hit this. We got back from a vacation from summer, and I felt like it didn't bother me when we were away, but when we got home, I had gone on a run one morning and I came back, or no, then it was, yeah, I got on a run, but then like the next day I tried walking down the stairs and I literally like I couldn't even bend my knee because it would pull on my calf muscle and then my heel. Like I literally couldn't walk down the stairs. So once that was what was happening, I realized there's something bigger going on than just like it's tight, it needs to be stretched out, like whatever. Like it's clearly causing me so much pain I can't even do normal daily tasks. So I had gone through I took 2 weeks off because I was kind of freaking out, like, am I going to tear it? I don't know much about this area. And so I took some time off. I started making phone calls, asking friends for recommendations of where to go. Do I get an MRI? Do I do this? Trying to make it most cost effective. And so I ended up getting an MRI done, and because I needed to know what was really going on behind the scenes or under the surface. And it showed that I had like a partial tear. And so I looked at that as like, oh, my Achilles is just gonna like snap. And then
Yeah.
after like talking with professional doctors and PTs and things, he's like, I've never met a runner whose Achilles just like snaps because they ran. You have to have some sort of like explosive movement, like a sprinter, or like get your foot like from an injury, like getting it stuck in a pothole or a crack where you like twist it, you know. He's like, just from running alone, you're not going to tear your Achilles. And I was like, oh, okay, you know. So then I was bouncing around between I was getting dry needling done from a chiropractor. Then he recommended a PT who I saw a couple times who did some shockwave therapy on my Achilles. I took an extra day off of running, so I bumped down to 5 days a week as opposed to 6, just to give my body an extra recovery day from running. I added in biking, not my favorite indoors. So I sat on the bike and just was faithful with warming myself up before runs. So I'd roll my feet, I'd do my exercises, my calf raises, all the things. And then, yeah, I got some different shoes, just tried to have different support and just tried to show up the best that I could. My miles, because I tanked, I had 2 weeks off and I was like, well, shoot, like, you know, I had a really great workout like just before this happened. And now I feel like I have to build back up. And so that's what I had to do is I had to build back up in mileage after the 2 weeks off. I had to basically not do any workouts runs with fast paces for a little while. And then when I felt ready, I attempted some small ones and then waited to see how my body responded to that. And so I just kind of kept rolling with it. I don't really know how or what happened, but I was able to make it to the start line. We also went on a family vacation because this is just when it lined up out west. Literally got back 2 weeks before race day. So I was slightly like, what are we doing? But we planned for one of my days to be a long run. And so I got an 18-mile run in one of the cities that we stayed in. I got in a few other runs, a couple treadmill runs, but mostly like I had a 19-mile week in that 3 weeks leading up to the race, but I had a ton of hiking and I was carrying my 4-year-old. So I looked at that as it probably saved me from doing something stupid and my heel giving me grief. But I also I was getting just enough fitness in with the hiking and the carrying and all of that, that I had to really not overthink it. And so that really showed me how much sometimes we can overthink our training. We can think a week or two off is just going to like throw us through the ringer and we're not going to be able to show up. And I showed up and did something I didn't think I was going to be able to. My heel never once bothered me. Tess looked over next to me who I was running with. She's like 5 miles in. She's like, how's your heel? And then I looked at her and I was like, oh, I forgot about it. I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it. I said, don't ask me again. Like,
Yeah.
so that was all I prayed for. I was like, God, just get me through the marathon. And if it has to hurt like hell afterwards, then let it be, you know? So, yeah, that was huge. So amidst some traveling, some injuries, my son also had a surgery over the summer. And so just between some of those things, yeah, life still happens and it's okay. It's okay to have a non-ideal training plan. It's never going to go perfect every time.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's an amazing message for listeners, and you lived it. So it's really neat to hear you say that. And your marathon time was incredible. And like you had talked about, like you finished strong, feeling good. And it's like, it's just always nice to hear, especially when you're in the grind, that if your weeks aren't perfect, like that it isn't this do or die situation. Like everything will end up being okay. Like that's why we work so hard for so long, is just in case anything like that was to happen. And I'm so glad that it wasn't anything that bothered you during the marathon, and
Yeah.
that, it wasn't worse than it was. It's incredible. So
It's helpful to have that non-runner input, like my husband, who's not a runner. He's not he runs playing sports, like with our kids, you know? So we get in our brain. And so he can totally get me out of that space of like freaking out and just be like, you can do it. And he believed in me. And I was like, all right, then I'll just keep showing up. So,
Yeah.
It's very easy to go on a spiral when you're in an A block, right? You're going for an A goal, you're hoping for that PR, you're putting some pretty hefty expenses into it. So it's like there's a lot of pressure. I feel like especially as moms because like finances with your family and things like that, like you have to like think outside of yourself like it is taking away a little bit from that, but
Mhm.
obviously it's very worth it. And so going up to a race that you feel like you're not going to PR, I mean, it's kind of a sting. Nobody wants to do that when they're putting a lot of money into something. But I think it's so good for other runners to hear that more times than not, it's not an ideal build. Like I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many times I've had strep during builds. I had COVID right before my second marathon build. I can't remember. I had a Achilles flare too. Actually popped up randomly in my build, like no signs or symptoms that it was like happening, and then all of a sudden I leave this long run and I'm like, what is this? Like,
Mhm.
and I think it's also very cool that you were able to seek advice from experts and you stayed on top of it and you figured out what was best for your injury. Cause I think a lot of times, a lot of runners, they think, oh, I'm injured, so I have to stop everything. It's like an all or nothing mentality going into an injury. And it doesn't need to be that way. Like, I
Mhm.
know for me, when I had my Achilles injury, he said it was more an intensity thing versus
yes.
a load thing. And so I had to bring down my intensity, but I can still continue to run, which was so weird. I was like, am I going to, I felt the same way. I was like, am I going to tear this? And he's like, it's near impossible to tear your
Right.
Achilles running. And so that brought me a lot of peace. And I'm glad that you had that same, like feedback and that expert advice to just like reassure you like you're doing everything you can. And it sounds like you were really smart through it all, and that's probably why you were able to nip it in the bud so quick versus sometimes we like to play the band-aid effect. We're like, oh, I'm gonna ignore this as long as I can and just push through and get to that start line, and that's often what ends up burning us the most. But also that people can see that like, hey, you still made what you made work. That 19 miles may have felt like nothing in comparison to what you were doing before that, but that 19 miles still kept you pretty consistent to continue to
Mhm.
move on through that build. And so I love that. Like the all or nothing mentality needs to get out of the sport.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that you emulated that so well that like you just pivot.
Right. You just pivot. So much can be related to motherhood. You know, we just have to pivot sometimes.
Yeah.
hmm
So true.
Definitely. Well, just as we're gonna close this out in a second here, I am just so curious because you're so busy and you have so much on your plate. For moms listening that do feel stretched thin and just aren't in a place where they're feeling good about carving out time for themselves, and train, homeschooling, all of that, you do that, you emulate it, and you've done marathons, you've done ultras, you've done all this stuff. What is some advice or encouragement that you would give them that you feel like has helped you?
Yeah. I would say, you know, that mom guilt just needs to go away. It should not exist. And, you know, you need to find what makes you happy and what that outlet looks like for you. So obviously many of you listening to this podcast are going to be moms who enjoy running or fitness or challenging yourself in some physical manner. And so that might not be the case for every person on this earth, which it's not. And so for us, this is our outlet. And so making the time, it's worth it. You're worth it. And it gives you a sense of accomplishment and a sense of like, I finished a task. I may have mentioned this, I don't know, to you, Shanna. Like the concept of like motherhood, there's so much of it that doesn't get finished, or like you don't get to see the end result till they're like 18, you know, like that's a long
Yeah.
time. And then add that by multiply that by however many kids you have. So like to actually just have a day or a few days in the week where you like, I'm going to do this run or this workout and you can complete it from start to finish. Whereas like homeschooling, that's like, doesn't finish. Like, you know, meals that just
Yeah.
never ends, laundry never ends. And like it's, you finish one load, you think you got on top of it, and then it's, you got a whole nother load. Or a kid pees their pants and you got to go you know, it's just like, you know, so that I think it's worth it for your mental sake and for your confidence to pursue, whether it's 5Ks, whether it's half marathons, or whatever it is for you, to make that time for yourself, and finding community. Don't do it alone. You need that, not online,
Mhm.
not online community. You need in-person community. So find people
Mhm.
who, a person, that resonates that with you, and just have that connection, because we need that in our life.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing advice, and I think you're such a great embodiment of everything that you said and just some of the conversations that we have had on here. So I love that. Finding community really is such a game changer. I feel like that's definitely like a common thread that we've all experienced a lot of time in our motherhood, is whether it was a high and having that community, or a low of like where that community just wasn't there. So I love that
Hmm.
you spoke about that.
Yeah, and you're right, like, nothing does finish in motherhood. I think that's a really hard concept to grasp when, we feel like the to-do list, like, we get through it all, and then it's like the next day it just starts all over again, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, sometimes you just take a deep breath, you're like, "I have to repeat this next week." Like, my Wednesdays are gonna continue to be my Wednesdays for as far out in the future as possible, and I do love that we as moms can have something like this, like a running outlet where it does have an end goal. Like, you
Hmm.
can start it and you can finish it. Like, you have a block, a build, and you start the build and you end the build with the victory lap, and you get to like soak in that accomplishment, because I think motherhood is very, there's not a lot of like like there's not a lot saying you did this today,
We don't
there's
get
not a lot of
praised
like,
every day.
yes, yes. There's no praise in motherhood. And it's not that like the people around us are not like thankful or anything like that. They're in their own little world. The kids don't think like that, until they're adults and their parents. And then they're like, wow, my mom did a lot for me. Um, but yeah, there's no praise in motherhood. But whereas with our running, there's kind of some self pride and some self praise for us, to be able to soak in. So I love
Mhm.
that. I love that perspective. I've never thought about it like that, and maybe that's why we always come back. Maybe that's why we always come back every day, because it does feel so satisfying to like feel that praise for ourselves.
Definitely. I love that. Well, Gabby, thank you so much for this chat. This was so nice. And thanks everyone for listening. Again, since we are building that new platform, we do really appreciate it when you rate, subscribe, and share with another mom. And then again, always looking for more shout outs. So if you want to send us a message on Miles with Moms podcast Instagram, that would be amazing. And yeah, thanks for listening and thanks for chatting, Gabby.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Good.
Mhm.
Bye.
Woo, bye.
Bye.